حضورنا الكريم، سوف نبدأ الجلسة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي مريم بنت محمد سعيد حارب النهيري، وزيرة التغير المناخي والبيئة في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، أصحاب المعالي الوزراء، أصحاب السعادة، مدراء المنظمات الإقليمية والدولية، ضيوفنا الكرام، أهلا بكم في الجلسة الرئيسية من أعمال المؤتمر الدولي السابع لنخيل التمر. باسم اللجنة العليا المنظمة للمؤتمر وباسم الأمانة العامة لجائزة خليفة الدولية لنخيل التمر والابتكار الزراعي، نرحب بكم أجمل ترحيب في العاصمة أبو ظبي. كما نقدر عاليا جهودكم العلمية والمهنية، آملين أن تتكلل جهودكم بالتوفيق والنجاح على مدى 3 أيام. أيها الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. ونلفت عنايتكم إلى أن كافة جلسات المؤتمر مسجلة من أجل التوثيق واستخدامها بالنشر على منصات التواصل الاجتماعي الخاصة بالمؤتمر الدولي السابع لنخيل التمر وجائزة خليفة الدولية لنخيل التمر والابتكار الزراعي، وسوف نوفر لكم نسخة كاملة منها في وقت لاحق. كما نلفت عنايتكم أن الوقت المخصص لكلمات معاليكم هو 15 دقيقة. ندعو معالي الوزيرة مريم النهيري وزيرة التغير المناخي والبيئة في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، ومعالي الدكتور رضا شبلي الأمين التنفيذي لاتحاد مراكز البحوث الزراعية في الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا لإطلاق منصة ابتكار نخيل التمر. تتفضلوا مشكورين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب المعالي، أصحاب السعادة، ضيوفنا الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسرني أن أنقل لكم تحياتنا معالي الشيخ نهيان مبارك النهيان، وزيرة السامح والتعايش، رئيس مجلس أمناء جائزة خليفة الدولية لنخيل التمر والابتكار الزراعي. وأن أرحب بكم جميعا في الدورة السابعة للمؤتمر الدولي لنخيل التمر، التي ستناقش مجموعة من المواضيع المهمة لتطوير جهودنا الرامية إلى المحافظة على شجرة نخيل التمر وتعزيز إنتاجيتها وتطوير صناعة تمور النخيل والاستناد إلى المعارف العلمية والتقنيات الحديثة وأفضل التجارب والممارسات. ولا شك أن استضافتنا لدورات المؤتمر الدولي لنخيل التمر على مدى ربع قرن تقريبا، والرعاية الكريمة لصاحب السمو رئيس الدولة حفظه الله لها، تؤكد الاهتمام البالغ الذي توليه قيادتنا الرشيدة وأبناء الإمارات لشجرة النخيل ورعايتها، باعتبارها عنصراً أساسياً في إرثنا الوطني. بذلنا الكثير من الجهد للمحافظة عليه، مستلهمين في ذلك النهج الذي أرساه الوالد المؤسس المغفور له بإذن الله الشيخ زايد بن سلطان النهيان طيب الله ثراه، لتصبح الإمارات بفضل كل ذلك من الدول العشر الأوائل في إنتاج وتصنيع وتصدير التمور على المستوى العالمي. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، يمثل المؤتمر الدولي السابع أحد أبرز محطات البحث العلمي في مجال تنمية وتطوير قطاع زراعة النخيل وإنتاج التمور على مستوى العالم. فالمؤتمر يحظى بأعلى نسبة حضور أكاديمية ومشاركة للعاملين في هذا القطاع، وهو ما يؤكد المصداقية العلمية التي اكتسبها على مدى ربع قرن تقريبا. ويسرني أن أغتنم هذه المناسبة لأشيد بالجهود التنظيمية التي تبذلها الأمانة العامة لجائزة خليفة الدولية لنخيل التمر والابتكار الزراعي بالتعاون مع جامعة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وأن أعرب عن شكري لكافة الوزارات والهيئات الوطنية والمنظمات الإقليمية والدولية والجمعيات الأهلية المتخصصة على تعاونهم الدائم مع الجائزة لإنجاح جلسات وفعاليات المؤتمر، بما يعزز مكانة المؤتمر كمنصة عالمية مرموقة في تاريخ المؤتمرات العلمية المتخصصة بنخيل التمر. ونحن في وزارة التغير المناخي والبيئة إذ يسعدنا أن نكون جزءاً من هذا الحدث، فإننا على ثقة من أن مشاركة هذه النخبة من المؤسسات العريقة والمناقشات والعروض التي ستشهدها هذه الجلسة العلمية سيكون لها أثر بالغ في تطوير زراعة نخيل التمر وصناعة التمور لتعزيز مساهمة هذا القطاع في الأمن الغذائي والاقتصاد الوطني. مع أطيب تمنياتي لكم بالتوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا معالي الوزيرة مريم لنخيل. والآن مع معالي المهندس خالد الحنيفات وزير الزراعة بالمملكة الأردنية الهاشمية، فليتفضل معاليه مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي وزيرة البيئة وغير المناخية، لأنه احنا الزراعة، أصحاب المعالي والعقوبة والسعادة، السيدات والسادة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسرني أن أكون بينكم في هذا اليوم المبارك، يوم انعقاد الدورة الرابعة عشر لجائزة الخليفة الدولية لنخيل التمر والابتكار الزراعي، هي الجائزة التي ساهمت بشكل كبير في تطور قطاع النخيل في دول كثيرة حول العالم خلال التنافس بين مختلف الدول، وكما ساهمت المهرجانات والدورات في تبادل العالم. أيها الحضور الكريم، لقد شهد قطاع النخيل في الأردن تطورات متسارعة جعلته في مقدمة القطاعات الزراعية تطورا وأهمية، حيث بلغت المساحة المزروعة بالنخيل حوالي 4000 هكتار، مزروعة بحوالي 650,000 شجرة نخيل معظمها من صلب اللجوء. كما بلغ الإنتاج الأردني حوالي 30,000 طن من التمور. إضافة إلى ذلك فقد أصبح هذا القطاع من أهم القطاعات التصديرية في الأردن، والذي تصل منتجاته إلى مختلف دول العالم، حيث وصلنا إلى حوالي 15% من السوق العالمي من صنف البنين. وقد ساهمت سلسلة القيمة لزراعة وإنتاج التمور في إضافة أبعاد اجتماعية واقتصادية لقطاع النخيل، حيث تم إنشاء العديد من منشآت البنية التحتية المساندة كمشاغل التعبئة والتدريج والمخازن المبردة والمتاجر المتخصصة في بيع منتجات التمور. ونشأت العديد من الحرف اليدوية المرتبطة بالنخيل، وساهم القطاع بخلق عدد كبير من فرص العمل للشباب والفتيات في الريف الأردني الذي ترتفع فيه نسب الفقر والبطالة. السيدات والسادة، لقد أولت وزارة الزراعة ضمن خطتها للزراعة المستدامة 2022-2025 اهتماما خاصا بقطاع النخيل، حيث قامت الوزارة بتدريب عدد كبير من المتعطلين عن العمل على المهارات المطلوبة لمزارع النخيل لتوفير العمالة الماهرة والمدربة لهذا القطاع، كما تبنت إدخال الرقمنة والمكننة إلى القطاع الزراعي بشكل عام وقطاع النخيل بشكل خاص. ولا بد من التذكير هنا أننا في وزارة الزراعة وبالتعاون مع المؤسسات الوطنية وجمعية التمور الأردنية قمنا بإنجاز خارطة رقمية لقطاع النخيل تعمل على توفير بيانات رقمية دقيقة تساعد كل من صناع القرار والمستثمرين على اتخاذ القرار المناسب في الوقت المناسب، وكذلك اتخاذ القرارات الرشيدة في مجال الاستثمار في هذا القطاع. وإن العمل جاد حاليا على تشجيع المبادرات التي تستهدف تقديم الخدمات الرقمية لقطاع النخيل، وخاصة تلك المتعلقة بسوسة النخيل، وإنشاء أنظمة التتبع لمنتجات التمور على مختلف أنواعها لتطوير جودة هذه المنتجات وزيادة الثقة بمستهلكي التمور الأردنية سواء المحليين أو الدوليين بمنتجاتنا الأردنية. أخيرا لا يسعني إلا أن أتقدم شكري إلى سمو الشيخ منصور بن زايد آل نهيان نائب رئيس مجلس الوزراء وزير شؤون الرئاسة في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وسمو الشيخ نهيان مبارك آل نهيان وزير التسامح والتعايش رئيس مجلس أمناء جائزة الخليفة الدولية لنخيل التمر والابتكار الزراعي، وكافة القائمين على هذه الجائزة، وعلى رأسهم سعادة أمين عام الجائزة الدكتور عبد الوهاب بن زايد، حيث ساعدنا دعمهم المتواصل إلى نقل مهرجانات التمور الأردنية من مستوى المهرجانات المحلية إلى مستوى المهرجانات العالمية. وأتقدم أيضا بشكري إلى كل المشاركين في هذه الدورة وإسهامهم في نجاحها، متمنيا لكم النجاح ومتمنيا لدولة الإمارات العربية الشقيقة مزيدا من التقدم والازدهار، وكما عهدناها دائما بكل ما فيه الخير للبشرية. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا معالي الوزير المهندس خالد الحليفات. والآن مع كلمة الدكتور عمارة زلوم حاكم ولاية بورنو في جمهورية نيجيريا، فليتفضل معاليه مشكورا. أتوقع معالي مش موجود معنا اليوم، فننتقل للفقرة الثانية. والآن مع كلمة معالي الدكتور عبد الحكيم الواعر المدير العام المساعد لمنظمة الأغذية والزراعة للأمم المتحدة الممثل الإقليمي لمنطقة الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا، فليتفضل معاليه مشكورا.
السلام عليكم، مساء الخير جميعا. How can I move this part? This will not be a speech, it will be more a technical presentation of where do we stand today in our region with the gain power, and I still insist to call it industry because we really need to shift it from being a profession inherited, maybe blessed, something very much attached to our culture, religion, and faith, into a serious industry if we want to sustain it, and if we want to really make a contribution to the income in the region in terms of creating jobs, also creating income and contributing to the economy while facing all the challenges we have in the region, climate change, water scarcity, and the establishment of the International Aid Council last month in Saudi Arabia is an excellent culmination of the efforts taken by many players, including the Arab Organization for Agricultural Development, the FAO, and the Khalifa Award, and many others who have given this commodity the support and the interest it deserves. So in these few minutes, I would like to share with you some of the statistics originating from FAOStat. FAOStat is a source of statistics and information. How this community performs worldwide, but also in the Near East and North Africa region, and how the region can look at opportunities in the future to grow this industry. So we all know that the date palm has a great economic and social and environmental importance, of course, in the region. It is something that we must have. And for those who recall in the rural areas, any farmer grows anything, they would insist to have few palm trees in their farmlands because they attach themselves to the land. And many of them inherit those palm trees with their ancestors, grandfathers, and they want to keep them on. The sector, as a date palm industry, plays an important role in improving the income and, of course, achieving standards for workers in the field. We all also know that it adds both as a direct food security source for the people, but they also live from the income generated from producing date palms. Now let us have a look at some of the figures of how this date export does worldwide, but also in the region. We see on the left side of the graph how the global world export of dates over the last 10 years has been on a steady increase. It's measured at about 10% annually of increase from 2020 to 2008 to 2017, and it reached a value of 1.3 billion tons of total export worldwide. We also see the share of the Arab countries in production of both value and quantity. And I will come to the distinction why we use these two indicators, because it's not enough to export in quantities, but the qualities of that export determine the actual monetary value that you generate out of that export. Now we see here, when we look at granular structure on the importance of the date export in the Arab countries, what is the share of each country? Again, it's in percentage from the total share of export of the total production. So here we're talking about how much of the total produced dates in those countries is being exported. And this has many factors in our region. The biggest factor today is the local consumption, the domestic consumption. Many of our countries rely very much and heavily on domestic consumption. So these figures don't really represent the economic value of the dates produced per country, because there's a large portion of that being consumed domestically, especially at certain times like Ramadan and other times. extent of local consumption, which adds in total to the income of the country, but the export that drives the hard currency. And the pie chart next to it presents how some countries manage to increase their export, not necessarily by reducing the domestic consumption, but also by increasing the quality. So they increase the value of the export in terms of how much money is generated. Here we see over 10 years, from 2011 to 2020, how the production of exports worldwide has increased over this period in million tons. As I stated earlier, in 2020, the last account we have is it reached about 1.3 million tons, which has a decline from 2019 that was partly attributed to the impact by COVID also in terms of the supply chain interruptions and the production for those that particular commodity. That will expect it to pick up after things stabilize post-COVID. An important aspect to look at: who is importing dates? Who are the biggest importer of dates, or the biggest consumers of dates? Today, India stands as the highest importer of about 225,000 tons. And you can see that there are some countries within the region, like Morocco, UAE, I can see Yemen, Qatar, and Jordan, Kuwait. So the countries are still importing even within the region because of the different varieties. So there is a lot of exchange and markets and opportunities on that diversity of the different varieties of dates. However, from outside the region, the major importers of India, France, Indonesia, Germany, and of course UK, US, Canada, and many other countries. And this is a good indication that there is a very good potential for making this commodity an international commodity, in promoting the consumption of dates if you want to really turn it into an industry and have a global value. Here we see the difference in quantities of tons between the major 10 producers of dates in the world in 2020. So this is from Powerstat, the production in 1 year, 2020, which we measured at 1.3 million tons, where the productions, Egypt has the highest production in terms of total production. We're not talking about export here. We're talking about total production that adds to domestic consumption as well as foreign export. And if we compare that with the next slide that shows sorry, I meant to show the tons. Yes. The largest exporters. So I just want to flip between these two to see between the exporters and the producers. And you can see there's a difference. So large production doesn't necessarily mean good export, and doesn't necessarily mean a good foreign currency return to the country if you do not invest in quality of production, the value chain, quality of byproducts, and to the variety also of the dates produced. So we can see here there's a big difference between production and export, where UAE, for example, take UAE as an example, UAE is almost on the least in the region in terms of total production. So that's a good indication of how the improvement in the value chain can make a big difference, and not necessarily the production as a source. We see also in the exporters here in 2020, Tunisia is picking up at a very high scale. Tunisia has a very well-established market in Europe and a history in export of their special variety that has more and more consumption, and they've invested very well in the export and export markets. On the larger dates importing countries, again, India stands as the highest importer. USA comes next, and this is in terms of quantities. I want to compare this in terms of values, of how much real money spent on importing dates. And we can see a difference because it's related either to the originating source of where does it come from, the value of those dates, and also the quality of productions. And you can see, if I just return to the previous slide, there's a difference between the same statistics for importing by quantity and by money spent. An important slide to look at is the future potential for this industry in the region with the major exporters. And we can see countries like Iran and Tunisia picking up, Saudi Arabia also. New players in the market might come in, like USA, Israel, and others, that are investing in the quality of the varieties and improving the value chains in terms of byproducts for the date palm commodities are also competing in the market. And this is a call where if we want to see this forecast, we may need to see what needs to be done country by country. And gatherings like this conference, Khalifa Board, and also the International Date Council can work together and bring the countries together to learn from each other's experience and to improving and hopefully changing the forecast that benefit more countries in the region. Yeah, this is the one that I was talking about on the forecast. And we see how this forecast changes or may change the game in the future if we don't invest today more in the date industry, especially the countries that already have massive production capabilities and need to improve on the quality and the value chain of their products. If you look at the dates sector in the world, there are over 1.24 million hectares of land planted with date trees. There are 40 producing countries, 200 million pound trees, and the value of the global exports. And again, when we mention exports, we're always excluding the domestic consumption, which is huge in many of our countries. The value of the total exports is $2 billion. Asia and Africa are the largest in production, 9.5 billion tons of dates total production worldwide. There's about 90% of that is produced within the Near East and North Africa region. I will not go into this. I've already shared a slide about the major importers in the countries, but this is more granular figures on how much we imported in terms of quantity as well as in terms of values in dollars. We know the date palm tree has a unique cultural and historical and religious and social value, especially in the region. And it seems to be so in India. This also explains the high import rate in India. The date palm, we know very well, it gives multiple benefits in terms of nutrition and nutritional value, as well as being a healthy diet for the local societies, especially those that are used to consumption of the dates. And the slide I had before summarizes these figures. The one that we had earlier summarizes those points. So this one gives you a clear glimpse of what's happening in terms of the date palm. We still see the NEDA countries account for about 90% of the global date production. And that, of course, is the overall activity that we see here. Major constraints on production is the natural resources, pests and diseases remains a major challenge to this very, I wouldn't say fragile, because this is by nature is a very resilient tree to our natural dry lands. However, it turns to be fragile to certain pests and diseases that recently expanded in the region. Post-harvest handling and processing and marketing and trade, and the impact of climate change, limited development of the sector, and its competitiveness. I think one of the things that we need to invest more is to really explore more markets, make it more commonly accepted and appreciated in new markets, mainly in the global markets. And we need to explore new markets like China. We already have India, the other parts of Asia, as well as North America and Europe. And that will increase the demand and give a better value for export that would allow us to be able to supply more, but also need to do more efforts in terms of protecting this community. The regional strategic integrated efforts are always needed, and I think we should remember the latest one for the red palm beaver eradication and the launching of this program last month. And that is one of the highest dangerous pests that hits date palm trees, where there is a regional full effort, and FAO hosts a trust fund with 12 countries participating in it to eradicate the red palm beaver. We also need to look at the development of the industry to address through broad value chain and food system approach. We need to look at the options we've seen here outside this hall, some of the success stories of how byproducts from date palms and date fruits are produced. Of all, we're only thinking in the near past of edible byproducts, but we've seen some cosmetics byproducts, we've seen coffee, we're in Al-Ahsa, we've seen a workshop that produces all kinds of furniture from a whole date palm tree. We don't basically throw anything from the tree, and all kinds of other products. So there's a lot of variety in terms of the value chain that can be built around the date palm that need to be very well articulated, developed, and improved. And on the development of the value chain, we need to invest more in terms of training, capacity building, but also importantly, and that's what FAO is leading together with Khalifa World and the other AOAD as well, in terms of exchanging experience between the countries of how do they best use these commodities, the byproducts. We need to also emphasize the importance of varieties diversity. I think focusing on a single variety for the region may not be sustainable in the long run. I think we hope we support all varieties, all different species of the dates, and we promote to have the local ones. Something uniquely about the date palm tree, it's very loyal to its own soil, and it grows where it tends, and that explains why some of the varieties do not grow in some other regions, do not grow in different regions. Because for some reason they have a clear interaction with the soils where they are. So the Iraqi dates are completely different from those grown in the other Gulf countries or the North African part. But as a whole, biodiversity is important. And the more we establish different varieties, the more sustainable this kind of production will be. Because pests also are selected to certain varieties. So depending on one single variety on the long run may turn this industry to be fragile and not necessarily make it sustainable. FAO is committed to providing technical support to the date palm producing countries in the MENA region, as well as recognize the need to share knowledge and experience on efforts that are explained earlier. We have a number of initiatives that FAO took on in terms of development of the date palm value chain. This includes promoting a strategic framework for the conservation of genetic resources, the development of certified date palm nurseries, as well as the application of integrated management of date palm pests and diseases, and the promotion of marketing and competitiveness of date palm sector. I would just conclude by reaffirming FAO's efforts for the development of the date palm value chain and looking at this to transforming the commodity growth into an industry of all what the industry takes in the value chain from production all the way to the consumers to the table. And again, we reiterate that the establishment of the International Date Council by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in alliance with the FAO, AOE, and other organizations is a good step forward to give this commodity the respect and also the support it deserves and needs for the future growth of this particular industry. And we look forward to work together to make this, hopefully when we come to the next version of this conference, see this industry really grows as a real industry with all what the world needs. Let me stop here and thank you all for your attention, and we look forward to exchange with you on the views on the other session. As well, we have a session that I would like to talk about the late part leader, will be led by FAO later, and I guess tomorrow, and then we have another one on the value chain for date palm as well. Thank you.
شكرا معالي الدكتور الواقع. والآن مع كلمة معالي الأستاذ علي أبو السابع مدير عام المركز الدولي للبحوث الزراعية في المناطق الجافة إيكارتا. فليتفضل معاليكم.
السلام عليكم. I'm going to try and explain to you, probably share a little bit more about the work that CIR have been doing over the past 50 years. But before I do, I think it's important to try and pause very briefly and look at where we are today. In this particular region of the world, we have major conflict and fragile environments. We have challenges around malnutrition. We have increasing population, we have degradation, of course, climate change, water scarcity. So really, a combination of factors that constitute what we would like to characterize as perfect storm. But at the same time, there are a lot of work that has happened over the past 50 years by the consultative group on agricultural research through the centers, 15 of them that have worked so hard over the past 15 years, which has now come under one CGI relevant centers coming together. And the idea for this particular region is to work on the elements of fragility to build resilience. So the issue around population growth, how do you convert that into an opportunity rather than a burden? Issues of malnutrition, how do you improve and transform the food land and water systems to be able to address the nutritious needs of these growing populations? How do you have and handle the question of gender inequalities, the whole question of governance, so that we are able to have more stable systems and less opportunities for conflict. Of course, there are important natural challenges, such as the desertification and rising temperatures, which is going more towards the south, north, and east. And what we can do is to only try to identify scientific and technological solutions to be able to deal with these challenges. But I think before we get into those scientific solutions, I want to pause a little bit about this whole question of food waste, because I think before we get busy by trying to produce more food, we need to look at how our consumption patterns are. And this is very direct correlation between the state of development of a particular country and the amount of food that we waste. So I think, personally, I believe there is enormous amount of effort that needs to be done in this particular stage. So, what is my message to you today? My message to you is that over the past 50 years, the CGIR has worked very closely with all the national partners across the world, the private sector, the NGOs. And when I mean the national partners, is the National Agricultural Research Institutes across the whole world, to try and develop solutions that we now, I'm going to share with you very quickly, very briefly, that holds the key for a better future for the whole world. If we're able to deploy these technologies, we don't need to. Of course, we need to continue to do more and new technologies, but I think even with what we have today, there is sufficient scientific innovations and technologies that could help transform the world. Let me start by wheat. I think we've all seen the geopolitical situation across the world, and the prices of wheat has almost doubled over the past few years. So CGIR has developed new wheat varieties that are heat tolerant, drought tolerant, and also disease resistant. So if we're able to take some of these varieties into some of the breadbasket countries on the African continent, for example, in Sudan, in many other locations, there could be enormous amount of additional wheat to be produced. We've produced in the CGIR wheat and drought-tolerant varieties that help Morocco deal with the challenge of the drought of the century, which is actually happening right now as we speak. Only very recently we started to see rains coming in the form of relief in Morocco. We've been able to look at also hummus, chickpea, varieties that are also able to thrive under heat and drought conditions. So the way to do that is that through setting up of drought platforms, we will both bring in the question of genetic material together with the water management and agronomy and testing a number of varieties across different locations across the world, and then we identify what will be the best solution and then move into different parts. If you look at Green Farm, I mean, that's the focus of the discussions that we are currently on. We've experimented with some surface irrigation technologies that could help reduce water use more than 12%. And not only that, but I think also through investments in protective agriculture and encouraging the private operators, we could definitely bring in a more diverse varieties to the table and help contributing to the improvement of food systems. Livestock continues to play a major part, especially in the context of drylands, and through community breeding techniques, we're able to select the best types of livestock that will thrive and do well under heat conditions. CGIR has been transforming the way it does breeding through now processing. So instead of breeding a very large number of varieties, which is a very high cost and not necessarily very fruitful in the type of problems you're trying to resolve, you are not trying to identify what are the problems for which you're trying to breed and then proceed with breeding. So it's allowing us to bring in greater efficiencies and also help respond to market needs in a much more targeted way. Producing more with less, I think that's the trend now across the globe. So look at the system as a whole and try to look at the interlinkages between the different components to advance agriculture and food security. Again, through advancements in science, we've been able to bring in the area of the good crops in particular, cut down the time to all less than 60 days from seed to seed. This is a major transformation in the ability of science to respond to the challenges of climate change. And this is so far like probably because the technology is also applicable to many other types. I think with feeding the livestock and the ability to identify and source feed for the animals is a major challenge. So looking at suited local varieties that consume less water and be able to provide sufficient food to the animals. And this is why the whole question of agronomy and the way we look at how do you manage your farm, how do you apply your water, your fertilizer, how do you plant, how do you leverage ICT and sensing, is one special area of falls under the vision of the ones that are under which the good excellence can grow. Now, I think equally important is the whole question of diversifying your crop patterns. In the past, there has been more emphasis on single crops, largely dominating parts of the world for measured commodity trading, but I think it has proved that diversity brings better soil health, better resilience for the farmers, and more opportunities in terms of income. The whole question of mechanization remains to be significantly behind, and I think in this area I argue that appropriate technologies that can be brought to the region, adapted, tested, recommended to the farmers, So, we've heard from Dr. Wang on today's presentation about the whole issue of value chain. So, we are trying to look at what are some of the key innovations across the value chain, across different commodities, and see how this could be deployed. If I go to Egypt, you have the challenges in the delta with rising seawater, salinity in the delta, and of course rising temperature across with several elements that go into the perfect rising population and so on and so forth. So there are significant opportunities to leverage ICT to try and manage your agricultural lands and identification of the question of irrigation, more efficiency in the way you distribute the farm. This is why in the CG we've developed what we call the raised bed machine. It's a product of collaboration between the NAS, ACR in Egypt and Uganda during the past 10 years. This saves up to 30% of the water consumed, 40% of the cost of seeds, and increasing the total revenue by about 50%. This has become a national project in Egypt, and it's being rolled out over more than 2 million hectares of land. So I think advancements in technology has also allowed us now to leverage many of the tools that are available. Every farmer now has a smartphone. I think being able to demonstrate how this would work, taking the extension service into a new form, a new technology, could help farmers make a lot more use out of the resources that are available for lands. Dealing with salinity is, of course, a major challenge. We have our colleagues, Dr. Tarifa, our colleagues from ICBA. This is at the focus of the work that we do in particular. But I think we're also doing our little contribution to looking at what are the genetic resources in our gene banks that could help contribute to this work. I think it's also important to recognize that there are now smart climate tools for improved water efficiency, leveraging better ability to manage the flow of resources, rainfall, interaction, and better weather forecasting services that allow us to use this water more efficiently, but also with technologies that can be deployed at farmer fields, controlled by computers, leveraged and uploaded in computer clouds, and then overall models that can help you manage this better. When you look at integrated systems, fish farming continues to be a very essential element. In the rooms next door, we are holding a meeting with our national agricultural research institutes from 20 countries. There will be a ministerial meeting tomorrow, and we will be discussing the concept about the introduction of an integrated desert farming platform. And what this seeks to do is to look at different components components of the system to maximize the economic returns from the desert farming model. And it's quite known that you introduce farming, you can use the water and recycling, even under closed and open systems, you're able to bring in nutrients without necessarily the result of chemicals, looking at the entire increase the value. Part of this agriculture, which has actually helped in the 3-4 times in terms of total output. Capacity development is a very essential thing, not just in this part of the world, Middle East, Africa, but more broadly. I think with every new technology, we need to invest first of all in showing the partners what the technology is all about and what benefits it can bring. And you can use farming field-based, field learning, plus platforms in the case of more advanced systems. Climate smart agriculture, again, the CG has invested, World Vision has invested in the advancement and development of many of these technologies, especially in Asia. And I think they are applicable and can be brought into different parts of the world. Before I end, I have one additional message. I think so far we've been focused on 3 major crops that feed mostly the whole world. Of the 30, sorry, we've been focused on 3 crops out of 30 that feeds the whole world, right? That's rice, that's maize, that's wheat. But we know that there are up to 200 different varieties that are actually edible and has potential to be consumed as food. And if you look at the total number of available edible varieties across the globe, what God has created, subhanAllah, it's close to 400,000 species, out of which there is 300,000 potentially edible. So we need to adjust our thinking so that in the future we should not insist on growing what we would like to eat, but maybe eat what we can grow. So with the deterioration of the climate change impact over the years, and I'm not speaking 5 or 10 years, I'm thinking maybe 20, 30, 50 years, there may be situations for which we need to start experimenting and playing with the genetic diversity that God has created. I know my sister Asmahan from IGWA has also been preaching along the same lines, and we hope to be able to, together with it, push forward this, because the work needs to start today so that we're able to prepare for the future generations. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to this afternoon.
شكرا معالي الأستاذ مصطفى. والآن مع كلمة معالي الدكتور إبراهيم آدم الدخيل مدير عام المنظمة العربية للتنمية الزراعية، فليتفضل معاليه مشكورا.
طيب لحد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طبعا لكل لقاء حمى ولكل لقاء ثيم. حمى هذا اللقاء هو الشجرة المباركة ديك فارم والذين سبقوني حول هذا الحمى presentation. There are about 12 slides summarized basically into 3 main areas. Let me just share with you that. And the title is the role of the date palm in the Arab countries' food security and climate change constraints. This is these themes are on one hand the food security dimension, and the second one is on the environmental dimension, the date palm tree, and the third one is in In fact, the second one is on the nutritional aspects, complementing the food security dimension. Then the environmental dimension of the date palm tree. And then finally, the arrangements that are necessary to contribute to the development of the date palm tree. As we all know that the date palms are produced in about 40 countries around the world, and 76% of this production is in our countries. Date palm production contributes significantly to livelihood sources and expanding economic activities of millions of small-scale farmers and rural people, as well as economic prosperity and social well-being. And for that, at the national level and regional level, date palm production and trade generate significant economic activities and contributes to sustainable development, with a total export value in 2020 amounts to $1.1 billion US, approximately 56% of the total global date palm export. So this is a very spark, which is economical importance. It generates quite some economic activities, and it has already been affirmed in the first two presentations, the economic importance and dimension of the date palm in our region. And date palm fruit has rich nutritional value as a source of energy in the form of inverted sugar, as well as several essential minerals. For that matter, rich in calcium, potassium, manganese, and a good quantity of ferrous, and copper, and zinc. So, macro and micronutrients, the date palm tree is rich actually in most of those. First of all, the date palm contains a lot of fiber and has almost no fat and has antioxidant. Particularly, reference is being made to the SABIC. So the date palm fruit is free from cholesterol, fats, and sodium. And with these attributes, date palm support food security of millions in the Arab region. Again, the date palm tree and trees are known for their adaptation, and this is the same dimension, which is the climate dimension, or the adaptation capacity and capability of the tree, for their adaptation to harsh environment, which is intrinsic in our region, and climate change. They provide habitat, shade, and protection from wind and heat for many species in our region. Now, the date palm tree contributes to biodiversity conservation, and due to its greater ability to absorb carbon dioxide, they are important for climate change adaptation and ecosystem resilience. So adaptation to tight conditions of water scarcity, which is prominent in our region, is an important attribute to adaptability of the tree, adding to the resilience of the ecosystems of the region. Now, accepting the fact that date palm contributes significantly to food security through its economic dimension and economic importance by generating economic activities, and also the nutritional value of the date palm tree, as well as its adaptation and adaptive capacity to contribute significantly to the resilience of the ecosystems of our region. We need to promote the sector significantly, and that requires a concerted effort. And this morning, we have all seen the inauguration of the so-called International Date Palm Network. Hopefully, will add value, add more to the partners in the region. We all know 2 weeks ago, as Dr. Al said, the International Date Palm Council has already been inaugurated and it's in existence right now. Furthermore, also this morning there was an inauguration for a knowledge platform between Arena and the Ministry of Environment or the Ministry of Climate Change of the United Arab Emirates. I think that those coordinations, those platforms are really very important to promote the date palm tree, and I think the best would be to always come together to support the promotion of the date palm, which is already been indicated that it has the adaptability, the significant adaptability to this harsh environment of our region. So I think to conclude, we need to pay whatever effort possible to make sure that we are coming together, we are supporting each other. We have the necessary innovation platforms in place so that we can coordinate our engagement and our planning and engagement once more. So thank you very much for listening, and I think the key word is we need to come together to harmonize and mainstream our engagement for the betterment of our country.
شكرا معالي الدكتور ابراهيم الدخيري. والان مع كلمه معالي الدكتور رضا شبلي الامين التنفيذي لاتحاد مراكز البحوث الزراعيه في منطقه الشرق الاوسط وشمال افريقيا، فليتفضل معاليه مشكورا. دكتور لو تقدر تبدا بس لان البرزنتيشن مش موجود.
طيب اوكي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for us at Arena to be here today. And actually, Arena has different activities, and one of the achievements which we have done is the Date Palm Innovation Platform. So today I will be talking about this platform and how it could serve the date palm sector, including scientists, producers, farmers, traders, different people who are involved with the date palm. So hopefully we can have the presentation soon.
اسمحوا لنا حضور الكريم، بس عندنا مشاكل تقنية. إلين ما نحل المشكلة الحالية نستضيف على المسرح سعادة الدكتورة طريفة الزعابي، المدير العام بالإنابة للمركز الدولي للزراعة الملحية إكبا، فلتتفضل مشكورة.
Good afternoon, everyone. In fact, I was worried I'm going to be the only one between you and the coffee break. So now I'm happy that I'm not the one person. We have talked today about, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the great effort. And secondly, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture and congratulate them, in fact, for winning the award this morning. So congratulations to all of us. It's absolutely a wonderful morning and a wonderful moment. So today we will be talking about what the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture has been doing. It has been a great effort. I lead a group of scientists who have been doing different, I would say, different research, different integrated approaches, and holistic development when it comes to the date palms research. And therefore, we will start talking about the long-term, or one of the long-term experiments that we have here at ICBA. So the date palm research has started since 2001, and the center has conducted different experiments in the United Arab Emirates to determine the long-term effect of saline water irrigation on date palm growth, productivity, fruit quality, as well as the impact on salinity on the soil. The experiments are conducted on 18 different date palm varieties from Saudi, from Iraq, from United Arab Emirates, including Nabtat Sultan and al-Hamam, which are found to be very sensitive to salinity. Here, we are also talking about the example of those research that we're going to talk to you about, and one of which is the technologies for red palm weevil. We're talking about red palm weevil eradication. We're talking about date palm water requirements and how can we really measure that. We are also talking about salinity tolerance and of elite date palm varieties. We are talking about the effect of mycorrhiza and treatment on date palm growth. We are talking about pest and diseases management that has been done and conducted for the date palm. ICBA date palm research program has 6 objectives that we're going to share with you today. The first objectives is talking about assessing the long-term impact of salinity on date palm growth, productivity, and the quality and the fruit quality. We are talking about the assessment of the long-term impact on soil. As we mentioned also, we're talking about the preserve the existing genetic resource by replanting the missing trees using the tissue culture techniques. We are talking about comparing the effective of different new control techniques for red palm weevil. And also, we're considering to develop best integrated management practices for saline environment. And last is the objective of looking and evaluating at enabled drone and remote sensing in the research we are doing. If we consider talking about research salinity tolerance, the experiments are conducted, as I mentioned earlier, on 18 date palm varieties from Iraq, Saudi, and United Arab Emirates, including Ajat al-Madina, which is very popular and very important here in our countries. And we are looking at evaluating the effect of the integrated date palm trees with water at 4 salinity levels on growth, yield, and fruit quality, as well as soil. And when we talk about the using water salinity levels, we're talking about 0.5 decimal, 5, 10 decimal, up to 15. And And the key findings of our experiments, of course, it indicated that some variety did well, others were found to be affected by salinity, and we are talking about some local varieties like Shahla and Lulu performed well and could be recommended for moderate and high saline water irrigation. And also we're talking about Shahla and Lulu and Fard were found to be stable over the years. However, varieties such as Nabhat Sultan and Hamam were found to be sensitive to salinity. We have also looked at the salinity effect on yield, and the results show a decrease in growth indicators such as tree height. We're looking for food production when the salinity level of irrigation water increases. The aggregated result for all indicators shows that varieties such as Lulu, Wilbarhi, and Shahla have more resistance to salinity and stability over the years. Some of the observation and measures have been done on the fruit quality, and we see that the result of the long-term experiment show that the salinity affects fruit quality, and there is a significant genotype bioenvironment interaction between the varieties and salinity treatments. At low 5 decibel to moderate 10 salinity level, the overall fruit quality is not highly affected. However, at high salinity, we're talking about 15 decibel, these traits are significantly affected. The results show that some types like Khlas and Ajwa are they are the least affected varieties in terms of fruit quality. Moreover, some varieties like Ajwa and Khlas benefit from moderate level saline water as evidenced by increased sugar content. We have collaborated with different universities, of which is Zayed University, and we were looking at the nutritional value of those dates. And ICMA and Zayed University analyzed the nutritional values of all varieties grown at ICMA at 3 salinity levels that we have mentioned, and the analysis was done for all minerals. The result for potassium, phosphorus, iron, and magnesium are presented as shown on the screen. Moreover, the UAE is among the countries with the highest consumption of dates. Tamar, Ratab are the most consumed dates in the UAE. The average daily consumption per capita ranges from 8 to 10 dates equal to 72 to 114 grams. The average consumption of dates in the UAE is 8 dates per day. Thus, based on this average daily consumption, the daily values from the dietary use reference intake of Ajwat al-Madina is 43% of potassium, 23% of phosphorus, 14% of magnesium, and 6% of iron, better than other varieties. Moreover, it contains acceptable level of other minerals. Also, the sugar content of Ajwat al-Madina fruits irrigated with saline water between 5 to 10 decibel is higher than the average level available on the UAE market from Saudi. And also we look at to evaluate and assess the effect of long-term use of marginal quality irrigation water on the soil, and the treatment that we are talking about. They assess the effect level of that treatment on the date palm yield and the quality. And this is really benefiting the environment, especially with the low soil fertility and salinity. The water is scarce, and it was one of the areas that ICBA has focused with the research in this area. The UAE has the largest number of date palm trees, and again, it's also very important for us to look at the water management and water consumption when it comes to that. Scientists have also, as I mentioned, carried different type of comparison, and they've looked at the joint research that had been done with the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi and the Plant Food Research Institute from New Zealand. Scientists have determined the actual water requirement of the date palm varieties for Lulu and Khlas. As a result, scientists have water productivity data that helps to reduce irrigation in local conditions by up to 50%. We also looked at testing different organic and inorganic soil amendment like hydrogen, biochar, sensors, and new irrigation techniques to improve the water efficiency to the date palm trees. Results show water saving from 25 to 80% are possible when these solutions are used due to mainly the intervention of water losses through evaporation and percolation. Pest and diseases management, as part of the research program that ICBA also has been focusing on with the scientists, and of which is mainly trying to find different techniques to control the red palm weevil, including pheromone traps, traditional traps, chemical treatment, organic treatment, and electronic devices. So we have tested different technologies for controlling red palm weevil, including various pheromone traps, as I mentioned, chemical injection, organic injection, and electronic devices, and all those solutions are integrated into real-time monitoring system to enable early detection. Drone and AI-enabled solution has been also considered as part of what we do. The research work also involves testing and implementing a system of the Internet of Things, IoT, and a drone-based data collection integrated into a GIS-based AI analysis platform for monitoring the date palm plantation, palm smart management solution. And here is, of course, projects that we have heard about, and ICBA is taking part of, which is the research consortium led by FAO, conducting studies on red palm weevil eradication. ICBA's role is to provide early detection solution for red palm weevil using remote sensing and sensors. And here are some examples of the technologies that has been used by ICBA since 2019. Definitely you cannot read it from here, so I'm not trying to check your site or vision. The thing is that this project has been done definitely with collaboration with universities, and we're proud to have Zayed University also as a partner with us since 2019 in conducting these experiments involving the students, which is, again, it's very important for us to focus on engaging them on those experiments. And this has led also to international award and a conference that has been done in 2019. ICBA is developing an AI-powered applications to detect date palm trees using drones, and our scientists are yet and still experimenting with this. Besides our role of looking at best practices and looking at research, applied research in this field, we continue to focus on doing publication and research work that involving different collaboration locally and internationally. This is some example of some of the research that has been recently published by our scientists. And again, I invite most of you and all of you to join our knowledge platform online to stay up to date with the research that we have. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners who, without them, their efforts for research and development almost seem impossible. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
شكرا سعادة الدكتورة طريف زعابي على هذه الكلمة. والآن نعاود استضافة الدكتور رضا شربي الأمين التنفيذي لاتحاد مراكز البحوث الزراعية في منطقة الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا، فليتفضل معنا مشكورا. Production guys, we have the presentation here.
Palm Innovation Platform, and actually the effort on this work was jointly between the Executive Secretary of the Arena, Dr. Nail Al, who's an expert in innovation and technologies, Dr. Mohammed Nagawi, who's an expert in ICT, and we have two of the FAO staff, Atif Swell and Sendaraju Ransumari, who are from the FAO, because this project is funded by the FAO. So, I would like, first of all, really to thank and express our appreciation to His Excellency Sheikh Hayyan Mubarak, Minister of Finance, President of the Board of Trustees, and also special thanks to Khalifa International Award for Date Palm and Agricultural Innovation presented by Dr. Abdul Wahab Zayed. And actually, we had a lot of collaboration between Arena. And although we had the COVID-19, but we were able to sign a partnership agreement during that time, and we have been doing a lot of activities jointly. Also, I would like to thank the collaboration with the different organizations, many of them are with us here. To just give you a briefing about the Arena, the vision of Arena aspires to be the hub for MENA agricultural stakeholders who strive jointly to strengthen and transform agricultural research and innovation to effectively address challenges and realize together a sustainable, inclusive, and prosperous future for the region. Our mission as a unique network of representative sector partners, Arena promotes and the development of state-of-the-art transformational solutions that enable the MENA agricultural research and innovation system to address more effective, critical, and pressing challenges. So, Arena actually focuses on mobilizing the knowledge exchange and partnership over collective actions, empowering rural women, youth, and smallholder farmers, and this is really one of the major areas which we have a lot of attention at Arena, impacting policies and strengthening capacities of MENA agricultural and innovation systems. So we have a strategy for the years 2019-2030. The strategy focuses on facilitating and mobilizing dialogue and collective actions among partners over the priority challenges as well as contributing to the global SDGs. At the same time, we aim to strengthen agricultural research, higher education, and we have really a lot of effort now in higher education, transforming higher education and innovation as a lever for ensuring a better inclusive future and well-being for rural communities. At the same time, similar to corresponding regional platforms of research and innovation for development around the world, and contribute to the SDGs 1, 2, 5, 8, 13, 15, and 17. And we are really putting different activities in those different goals in our region. So, we look at the platform Arena. Actually, before starting with the work of the platform, we have an active date palm network. The network actually has members from all the different countries who are partners and members in Arena, and we have a lot of activities, webinars, workshops, seminars, and even we are sharing sometimes views and discussions through the network. And these are examples of the many lectures and webinars, and I think some of the colleagues here, they joined us in different webinars and different activities of the network. We go to the innovation platform. Actually, the date palm, since the morning we are hearing about the area of date palm in the area, the production of date palm, the exports, the imports, and the value of the date palm in the life of the people at the level of the religious, cultural, economic heritage in the region. So date palm is really now one of the major crops of the region, and we should put a lot of efforts now to get this industry in a better shape. So also the date palm now is one of the factors, one of the goals of the achieving food security in the region, so we have to put a lot of effort in this direction. If we look at the challenges, there are constraints to the production, improved genetic resources, integrated pest management, post-harvest handling, and processing, marketing, and trade. Since the previous lectures, actually, we were hearing a lot about these constraints in the region. Also, we have limited the competitiveness to the farm sector and local, regional, and international markets. And I think so far, the value added is one of the major points we have to focus on in this region. On the other hand, the region is experiencing huge knowledge gaps, as the knowledge produced locally is not accessible widely with necessary improvement, and that's why we should have an interactive way of talking and getting the dialogues and different aspects of the part. So that was behind this project with the FAO. So the FAO and Argentina collaborated to establish this platform as an innovation platform, both improving the quality and the quantity of date palm products and further development of this sector. The platform was designed to facilitate a full cycle model from idea to innovation and service, vice versa. And this includes also the backend server, the software for storing the data, processing the information, providing artificial intelligence support, and providing web service to communicate with other parts of the platform. So if anybody clicks on this URL, this link is the link for the platform. So anybody who clicks on that, you can just get to the platform, and then you can start from there to the platform. But as you see on the platform, actually, we have different forums in the platform. We have the resources, we have the new activities, we have projects, and anybody would like to get the platform, you should sign in order to get the platform. Not anybody could be in the platform, but you sign in, then once we get an email, we will get an email from you directly, we will send you a password, then by that you can get, so we should know who is using the platform, and it's usually for people who are in this area. So the major objectives were to create and design interactive and collaborative innovation platform, interconnect relevant stakeholders effectively to share and consolidate the available knowledge, information, and innovation related to value chain and production to address the problems. At the same time, to contribute and promote knowledge exchange and experiences between stakeholders of the platform at regional and international levels, and at the same time manage projects, events, and disseminate information. We go in depth in the platform, yes, we can get even projects going on at the same time. So in the platform, it was designed to have different forums. And forums depends on the areas of interest of the people who are using the platform. You can sign in, and then you can get to the forum of the researcher and extension community, or government organization, non-government organization, producers or farmers, entrepreneurs, exporters and traders, funding agencies, technical and expertise group. So you might be in one forum, you might be in more than one forum at the same time. It depends on your interest to be in this forum and who are the people you would like to interact in the forum with them. So if you look to the research and extension community forum, there are topics there. And these topics are actually not static, but you can add a topic. If you are yourself interested in adding a topic, you can add a topic. So you might go for irrigation in date palm under stress condition. You might go for promising technologies, nutrition and health, horticulture, etc., etc. And you yourself, if there is a new topic, you will see that it's important for the people in the platform to interact and to join that topic. You might add a new topic. You yourself can add the topic. We'll go to the government organization, ministries and agencies of agriculture, national agriculture research centers, legislations and regulations, gender policy. So any person who is involved with the gender issue could get there and then could start discussing the issue or putting an idea or putting any information you would like to discuss with the other people on the platform. Non-government organization, we go to farmers association, cooperatives, UN agencies, EU agencies, regional agencies, women association, and at any time we get any non-government agencies, it can be added to the forum, and we can, people could get there and utilize it through the forum itself. We go to the producer or farmers, they can get different topics to talk about. They might talk about soil salinity, they might talk about farm management, they might talk about pollination, any of these subjects. These subjects are available now on the platform. But yes, new subjects can be, new topics actually can be added to the platform. Also entrepreneurs, they can get together, discuss an idea that can roll up to startups, and then they might get an idea to go for a business or a spin-off, discussing that idea. Small and medium enterprises, promising technologies and innovation, women and youth involvement, all funded project can be topics under the entrepreneurs. So we go to the traders, exporters, importers, markets, supply chain, all of those people can be on the platform and they can interact, and now I will give you some examples of our previous meetings and testing for the platform. So if you look at the structure of the platform, we have the forums, and most of the people who sign in, usually they have to go to the forums, and then through the forum you can work with people in your area, get to discuss the different aspects. We have projects. Yes, you can put the title of the project, you can ask for people to join you, and then you can develop the project, then you can end up submitting the project to any funding agency through that, and by that way you can know who are the people who could be in your area to join the project. Resources, also you will see that we can have a lot of different other reference sources that can support the platform and can support the people in doing their work. The stakeholders also are using the platform. News and activities will be there, and if there is any news or activity, it can be there so people in the platform can know that. So, if we look at the features of the platform provides live real-time statistics on the forum activities. For example, during one of the conduct tests that we did, at that time there were 9 forums, 30 topics, 38 posts, 105 members were interacting at the same time. So, linked to existing global knowledge portals such as TICA, Tapedia. So, once you want to get to any of those ones, you can link to them directly from the platform. And if we go to these resources, actually, we have different publications, we have webinars, we have the Date Palm Network, our network, we have the Khalifa International Award for Date Palm and Agricultural Innovation, and there are other new resources. Resources can be added to the platform, and then these resources very easy. So if you look at the platform architecture, it's a simple one. We start, you log in, then you go directly to the you will go and you will ask to sign in, and then by the time you sign in, you will get a password from us, then you register on the platform, and then through that you can go to any one of those components in the platform, and it's self-learning, it's an easy way to go through it. People who were with us in the testing, we did not face a problem with them, it was really going very easily, and through the different testing, we did the beta, we did the alpha beta testing for the platform, and now we are sure it's working very easily. So I hope any one of you could join us in the platform and then interact with the people who are now in the platform and who are utilizing them. So if I look here at the platform, we spent some time in the development, and actually Dr. Mohammed Mankawi as an expert in IT, he was putting a lot of effort in that. Then we went to the testing, and there were people with us doing testing, and then we went to the user acceptance testing and changes in order to have it in an easy way for people to utilize it. And now we are reaching the production and the platform now. We were very happy, and we are launching it under the Patent of Their Excellency this afternoon. So what are the expected outputs? Actually, an interactive hub for multi-stakeholders, including researchers, producers, funders, farmers association, private investors, government agencies to promote the date farm, integrated production system in the near region, and to maintain high competitiveness in a dynamic global market. This is the most interactive way of having people to really interact together in discussing the different items. It's a model of innovation, a platform for date farm integrated production system, alleviating funds and acquisition of financial services for projects, identify research priorities related to innovation, access knowledge, and modern technologies for global, regional, and national research centers. At the same time, updating and enforcing laws and legislations as you. So there is also a possible way for people who are in legislations, people who are in laws, to discuss the different legislations that are in this area, to transfer and exchange of innovation and promote awareness of the importance of innovation in the date farm sector. So actually, this is a briefing about the platform, and I would really be very happy to have every one of you and people who are in this area in the different sectors, if you can pass to them the link of the platform so that people can join us, because we would like to maximize the benefit of the platform. By the end, I would like to thank the team who worked on this platform with us at Arena, Dr. Lana Omar, Dr. Mohammed Mankawi, Wafa Sallam, who also is a specialist in ICT. She was working with Dr. Mohammed Mankawi on this. Isra Audat, she was my assistant at the office. Yuna Hassan, also they were working with us on the data collection and the capacity test work for the platform. Also from the FAO side, Dr. Afis Whalen and Dr. Sizarajo, actually they were with us in every meeting and in every webinar and in every testing process to put the platform in a very active and a working status. Thank you so much.
شكرا معالي الدكتور رضا الشبلي. والآن مع كلمة معالي الدكتور نصر الدين العبيد، مدير عام المركز العربي لدراسات المناطق الجافة والأراضي القاحلة، فليتفضل معاليه مشكورا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أنا الدكتور خلفان ورئيس برنامج لنخيل. يسعدني أن أقدم محاضرة الدكتور نصر الدين عبيد وأن أنقل تحياته الحارة لجميع القائمين على هذا الملتقى العلمي الهام الذي كان حريص على حضور هذا الاجتماع، ولكن لظروف خارجة عن إرادته لم يتم الحضور. المحاضرة هي عن إنجازات منظمة المركز العربي للإحساء في تنمية وتطوير زراعة النخيل في المنطقة العربية. طبعا الدكتور كان نصر الدين عبيد كان حريص على ان يكون معكم وان ينقل تحيات دولة الامارات شعبا وقيادة وحكومة وعلى راسها الشيخ معالي الشيخ سمو الشيخ خليفة زايد آل نهيان رئيس الدولة وولي عهد الامين للجهود المبذولة في تطوير الزراعة بشكل عام وقطاع النخيل بشكل خاص ليس فقط في الامارات وانما في المنطقه العربيه والعالم. كما ينقل تحياتي للقائمين على المؤسسه مؤسسة عريقة جائزة رأسها سمو الشيخ مع سمو الشيخ نهيان مبارك عبد نهيان وزير التسامح والتعاون، والأخ الدكتور عبد الوهاب زايد الأمين العام لهذه الجائزة. طبعا قبل أن أدخل في إنجازات المركز العربي في تطبيق قطاع النخيل لابد أن أعطي لمحة بسيطة عن منظمة الأجساد. منظمة الأجساد منظمة تابعة لجامعة الدول العربية نشأت في عام 1968 مقرها في جامعة في الجمهورية العربية السورية. منذ تأسيسها وضعت المنظمة عدد الأهداف تسعى في هذه الأهداف إلى تحقيق الأمن الغذائي العربي عبر استنباط العديد من الأصناف المتحملة للجهادات البيئية والجهادات الأحيائية واللا أحيائية من الحبوب كالقمح والشعير، وتزويد الدول العربية ببذار هذه الأصناف لرفع الإنتاجية وتحسين النوعية، كما تعمل على تحسين الأصناف المثمرة المتحملة للجفاف وتحسين الثروة الحيوانية ولا سيما المشتقات الصغيرة، وتزويد الدول العربية بالقشات المجمدة. كما بالإضافة إلى الأمن الغذائي كانت تسعى دائما إلى تحقيق الأمن المائي. الأمن المائي ملازم دائما للأمن الغذائي، والذي يعمل الأجساد على استخدام ترشيد للاستخدام الأمثل للمياه، إنشاء السدات المائية، وأخيرا الجوابي في جمهورية مصر العربية في تقنيات حديثة باستخدام النمذجة الرياضية. المركز العربي للأجساد ترتكز استراتيجيته على تتماشى استراتيجية المركز العربي للأجساد على أهداف التنمية الزراعية المستدامة، ولا سيما الهدف السابع عشر والذي يدعو الى التشارك والتعاون بين المنظمات لتحقيق الاهداف، وهذا الشعار الذي رفعه السيد الدكتور نصر الدين العبيد منذ استلام مهامه منذ سنه ونصف. كما تتماشى استراتيجيه الاجساد مع العديد من اهداف اتفاقيه التنوع الحيوي واهداف. طبعا يمتلك المركز العربي للأجساد أكثر من 13 محطة في مقر الجمهورية العربية السورية، ومحطتين بحثيتين نباتية وحيوانية في كل دولة عربية. أنشأ المركز العربي للأجساد العديد من المخابر المتطورة كمخبر الطاقات الحيوية، زراعة الأنسجة، التربية والمياه، الحبوب والتلقيح الاصطناعي للحيوانات، التحاليل الكيميائية لتوثيق النبات ووقاية النبات. كما يتبع للمركز العربي للأجساد العديد من المشاكل بإنتاج غراس الأشجار المثمرة وتثبيت الدول العربية الراغبة بزيادة مجمعاتها الوراثية بهذه الأصناف المحسنة، كما يوجد مشاكل وحقول لأمهات النباتات الرعوية. يصدر المركز العربي للأجساد منشورتين علميتين، ويوجد لديه مكتبة ومعشرة نباتية. الأجساد في تطوير وتنمية النخيل، ففي عام 2003 استحدث الأجساد برنامج خاص للنخيل ضمن هيكلته يتبع المواد النباتية. هدف هذا البرنامج إلى تنفيذ المشاريع التنموية والقيام بالأبحاث لنشر وزراعة الأصناف المهمة اقتصاديا في الدول العربية، اعتماد مبادئ الزراعة والتنمية المستدامة، تنفيذ الإدارة المتكاملة للأمراض لا سيما مشاريع حشرة مكافحة سلسلة النخيل الحمراء، تنمية وتطوير تقنيات ما بعد جنين التمر. أولى المشاريع التنموية التي نفذها أجساد كانت شبكة بحوث وتطوير النخيل، واستمرت منذ عام 1994 إلى 2002. كانت بالتشارك مع عدد من الجهات مثل صندوق العربي لحماية الاقتصاد الاجتماعي والبنك الإسلامي وإخاله. كانت الجهات مستفيدة حوالي 12 دولة عربية. الهدف من هذه الشبكة هو إجراء البحوث والمشاريع في بخمس مجالات هي كانت الشبكات الفرعيه، في مجال تحسين الاصناف، في مجال تقنيات الانتاج والاداره المتكامله لمكافحه الافات، وتقنيات ما بعد شؤون التمور التي كان مركزها دوله الامارات العربيه المتحده، واجراء الدراسات الاقتصاديه والاجتماعيه. كان اهم مخرجات المشروع هو رفع كفاءه الفنيين الزراعيين. حقيقه المركز العربي للاكساد كان دائما بوصلته موجهه نحو المزارع، يعني اي مشروع، اي عمل، اي بحث كان الهدف الاساسي هو نقل هذه التقنيات، هذه النتائج الى المزارع مباشره. المزارع الهدف من هذه العمليات، والمزارع دائما عندما يرى انجزت الشبكه اكثر من 16 نشاطا تدريبيه وايام حقليه وندوه علميه، وكان عدد المدربين 462. طبعا صدر عن هذه الشبكه العديد من الدراسات للعديد من الورشات والندوات العلميه التي تمت خلال هذه الشبكه، حوالي اكثر من 33 دراسه وتقرير علميه متميزه. أهم نتائج مشروع قامت هذه الشبكة خلال دراساتها إلى تطوير الأنظمة الزراعية في مناطق النخيل. دراسة الأنظمة الزراعية في مناطق زراعة النخيل في الدول العربية المشاركة، الاهتمام بالدراسات الاقتصادية والاجتماعية لقطاع النخيل، تطوير وتعميم طاقات الزراعة النسيجية لنخيل التمر، المساهمة في تحسين الأصناف المحلية في الدول المشاركة، وتطوير وتعميم تقنيات الإنتاج الحديثة لنخيل التمر. واهم شيء هو تطوير وسائل الاداره المتكامله لمكافحه افات وامراض النخيل، وخاصه سوسه النخيل الحمراء. المشروع الثاني كان هو مشروع لتقييم وانتخاب سلالات بذريه. تم هذا المشروع بتمويل ذاتي من الاكساد. جهات مستقله كانت في هذه الدول العربيه، المملكه العربيه السعوديه وجمهوريه مصر العربيه والجمهوريه العربيه السوريه. هدف من هذا المشروع هو انتخاب اصناف من السلالات النخيل التمر البذريه متميزه بالانتاج ومتحمله وتوثيق. بعد انتخاب كان في عندنا اقامه مجمعات وراثيه لحفظ هذه السلالات، ومن ثم توزيع الفساد. هاي الصور للمجمعات الوراثيه التي تمت للسلالات البذريه المنتخبه. طبعا تم انتخاب 10 سلالات في جمهوريه مصر العربيه، و10 سلالات في سوريا، و12 سلاله في المملكه العربيه السعوديه. كان من مخرجات هذا المشروع ايضا اصدار كتاب نخيل التمر للدكتور الاستاذ عبد الباسط عوده، واصدار اطلس نخيل التمر في سوريا. صور لبعض السلالات، سلاله سوريه وسلاله سعوديه وسلاله مصريه. السلالات المصريه تم اجراء البصمه الوراثيه لها وتسجيل هذه السلالات في قاعدة البيانات الوراثية العالمية، وأخذت أرقام وأسماء أجساد من 1 إلى 10. المشروع الثالث والذي انتهى منذ عام 2018 في الفترة الأخيرة كان هو مشروع يهدف إلى تطوير عمليات خدمة بساتين النخيل الرئيسية والأرضية لزيادة الإنتاج وتحسين النوعية في المنطقة العربية. استمر هذا المشروع من عام 2015 لعام 2020. طبعا المشروع كان يهدف الى انتخاب او اختيار حقلين نموذجيين استرشاديين يتم فيهما تنفيذ كافه عمليات الخدمه الرئيسيه بشكل علمي وبالوقت المناسب، وتأثير هذه العمليات على تحسين النوعية وزيادة الإنتاج. طبعا الهدف الأساسي كما قلنا أنه هي عبارة عن المزارع عم نعمل له أيام حقلية في الوقت التلقيح، يوم حقلي عم يشوف شو التقنيات الحديثة اللي عم يتم وشو في تأثير على زيادة الإنتاج وتحسين النوعية، لحتى يمثل نحن أجندة لعمليات الخدمه بالتاريخ الشهر لتنفيذها بالحقل. تطبيق عمليات الخدمه ادى الى زياده الانتاج بنسبه من البلد المنفذ الاجنده. بالعراق كان 60%، بدورات تدريبيه 36 دوره، عدد الايام الحقليه 97. ونحن لا نتاكد على الايام الحقليه لان اليوم الحقلي المزارع عم يشوف قدامه شو اللي عم اي التقنيات الحديثه اللي عم يستخدمها الفنيين. انجز من خلال هذا المشروع حوالي اكثر من 15 بحثا ودراسه تفصيليه حول تاثير اعمال الخدمه في زياده وتحسين انتاج وجوده الثمار، ونفذ دراسات تفصيليه حول المواصفات والتحليل البيوكيميائي لثمار اصناف النخيل اكثر انتشارا في الدول المشاركه. تم إصدار كتاب قيم جدا عن المكافحة المتكاملة لسوسة النخيل الحمراء في الوطن العربي، إصدار وتوزيع نشرة مشاركية عن سوسة النخيل الحمراء، وخلال الدول المشاركة خلال تنفيذ الأيام الحقلية كان عم تقوم بإعداد ونشر بروشورات وبوسترات عن عمليات الخدمة. على هامش هذا المشروع كان في هناك تنفيذ لنشاطات خاصه لسوسة النخيل الحمراء، منها انشاء نافذه خاصه لسوسة النخيل الحمراء على الموقع الالكتروني المركز العربي للاقسام، انشاء نافذه على مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي والواتساب، ضم العديد من الخبرات هذا المجال في الوطن العربي، تشكيل فريق علمي عربي استشاري لاقسام مكون من خبراء متميزين من الدول العربيه ومتخصص في مكافحه سوسة النخيل الحمراء. عقد المؤتمر العلمي العربي الاول لمكافحه سوسة النخيل الحمراء في المنطقه العربيه ببيروت عام 2019 تحت عنوان الاساليب العلميه للحد من الاصابه بسوسة النخيل الحمراء في المنطقه العربيه، شارك فيه حوالي 15 دوله عربيه والقيت فيه 21 ورقه علميه عن الاساليب العلميه لمكافحه سوسة النخيل الحمراء. تنفيذ دورة التدريب الأولى في عام 2020 حول إدارة متكاملة في مكافحة سوسة النخيل الحمراء بالتعاون مع وزارة البيئة والمياه المملكة العربية السعودية ومشاركة العديد من الدول العربية. المشروع الرابع كان عن استخدام المستدام للمياه الجوفية لتحسين سبل عيش المزارعين والمحافظة على الظروف البيئية في الواحات بمشاركة ميزانية مشتركة بين إيفاد والمركز العربي للإقسام. كان في دولتين عربيتين مستفيدتين من هذا المشروع، مدة المشروع كان 3 سنوات. هدف هذا المشروع هو نشر التقنيات والممارسات المناسبة، رفع كفاءة استخدام المياه، تحسين الإنتاجية الزراعية الميسرة في الحد من الفقر وحماية البيئة الهشة للواحات. من مخرجات المشروع كان رفع كفاءة استخدام المياه بنسبة 60%، تحديد المقننات المائية المناسبة أو التقنيات المناسبة لاستخدام الفعال للمياه، رفع مستوى وعي السكان المحليين. المشروع الخامس عن إدارة المياه بين استخدام التقنيات الحديثة في واحة تدمر بسوريا. هي كانت الدولة الجمهورية العربية السورية واحة تدمر معروفة من الواحات المشهورة بالنخيل ومن أقدم الواحات الموجودة. بالميرا تدمر اسمها بالميرا، وبالميرا هو بلد النخيل، حتى كلمة تدمر هي كلمة قديمة تعني تدمر بلد النخيل. مخرجات المشروع هو كان تحديد استهلاك الماء اليومي الفعلي لاشجار النخيل، وتحديد كميات مياه الري والفتره بين الريال وفقا لقياس استهلاك الماء، وتوفير استهلاك المياه الري بنسبه 30%، ونشر التقنيات في الدول العربيه الاخرى. انشا المركز العربي للاقسام في عام 2018 مختبر لزراعه اكسار النخيل بتقنيه زراعه الانسجه، وزودوا بالكثير من الاجهزه والمتطلبات اللازمه لهذه التقنيه، بالإضافة إلى الكادر البشري الخبرة العامة في هذا المجال. هدف منه هو إنتاج فسائل غراس نسيجية لنخيل التمر خالية من الآفات والأمراض المطابقة للسن وتوزيعها للدول العربية. من أهم النتائج رغم الفترة القصيرة كان للعمل بهذا المخبر تم التوصل لبروتوكول إنتاج صنفي الدود والمجهول، الحصول على أعداد كبيرة من الفسائل من الغراس النخيل النسيجية الخالية من أمراض خطيرة كمرض الجلود والآفات الحشرية وسوسة النخيل. تم عن التقنية. العديد من النشاطات لم تتوقف في المركز العربي بالرغم من الحجر، بالرغم من كثير من الامور، لان المركز العربي استمر في تنفيذ الدورات التدريبيه واستمر في تنفيذ الورشات العلميه ولو كان عن بعد، لكن هذه الاعمال استمرت. 3 ندوات علميه متخصصه في اداره اشجار النخيل، ندوه علميه متخصصه في مكافحه حشرات التشبيه الخضراء في ليبيا والسودان، بلغ عدد المشاركين اكثر من 450 مشارك من وزارات الزراعه والوزارات المحليه والجامعات في الدول العربيه والمنظمات الدوليه والعربيه واتحاد المنظمين الزراعيين العربي. بالنسبه للتعاون مع جائزه خليفه الدوليه لنخيل التمر والابتكار الزراعي، كان منظمه المركز العربي للاقتصاد كانت من السباقين للتعاون مع الجائزه في العديد من المجالات. المشاركه التي قامتها الجائزه عبر تقنيه الفيديو، القاء محاضره عن دور المركز العربي لدراسه المركز العربي المناطق الجافه والارض الطاحنه لحساب المبادره طرحتها الجائزه بسلسله 50 كتيبه في عام 50 تاسيس دوله الامارات العربيه المتحده للكتيبتين عن دور احساسي تطوير وتنميه زراعه الاشجار التي تمت في البلدان العربيه وكتيب عن عمليات البتاس النخله. الاسهام في اعداد تطبيق عن صنف المجهول بعنوان صنف المجهول وزراعه التمور الاصل والانتشار والسوق العالمي. بالنسبه للمؤتمر منظمه الاقسام مشاركه ب4 ابحاث، 3 بوسترات وبحث عرض شفهي. عن العرض الشفهي كان عن تاثير فضه البوفاريا على سوس النخيل الحمراء، في عندنا اكسار صنف تقنيه زراعه الانسجه، في عندنا الوصفه الوراثيه لسلالات النخيل المصريه، في عندنا تنوع الصنفي للنخيل في المنطقه الشرقيه من سوريا. اخيرا تم تنفيذ التعاون مع منظمه الزراعه والاغذيه الفاو، تم ابرام مهمه التفاهم مع الفاو لتنفيذ مشروع مدارس المزارعين عقليه اداره متكامله لمكافحه سوس النخيل الحمراء في الاردن والعراق. تم خلال هذا العام بدايه هذا العام البدء بهذا المشروع، خلال تم اجراء عده لقاءات مع فرق العمل للأردن والعراق، وسيتم البدء خلال الأيام القليلة القادمة. وشكرا لاستماعكم. وطبعا هذا اللي قدمناه هو عبارة عن عناوين بعض العناوين للأعمال والمشاريع التي تنفذها المركز العربي للاقتصاد، وبالنهاية كمان برجع بأكد على تحيات السيد المدير العام ورغبته الكاملة الكبيرة للحضور هذا الملتقى العلمي المهم، وشكرا لاستماعكم.
شكرا معالي الدكتور نصر الدين العبيد. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم، في ختام أعمال الجلسة الرئيسية للمؤتمر الدولي السابع لنخيل التمر، نود أن نهنئكم على جهودكم المستمرة التي بدأنا نشهد ثمارها اليوم، متمنين لكم المزيد من التوفيق والنجاح لبناء مستقبل أفضل للعالم أجمع. نشكر لكم حضوركم ومشاركتكم معنا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.